Sometimes life doesn't destroy dreams in one loud moment. Sometimes it does it quietly. It begins with a small delay, a promise made to yourself that feels harmless. I'll start tomorrow. Ethan was very good at saying those words. He lived in a modest town where mornings were slow and evenings were filled with the sound of television sets humming behind half-open windows. Nothing about the town pushed people forward, and nothing really held them back either. It was the kind of place where life could pass without resistance, and Ethan fit into it perfectly. He wasn't stupid. That was the strange part. Teachers used to say he had potential. Friends said he was talented. Even strangers could tell he was capable just by listening to him speak. Ethan understood things quickly, remembered details easily, and could explain complex ideas in simple ways. But understanding something and acting on it were two very different things. Action scared him, not because it was difficult, but because it demanded consistency. Every morning his alarm rang at 6, and every morning Ethan hit snooze, once, twice, sometimes 5 times. He told himself he deserved a little more rest. After all, the day was long. There was always time. He rushed through breakfast, arrived late to class, promised himself he'd catch up later, and repeated the same routine the next day. Weeks turned into months. Assignments piled up. Notes remained unread. Dreams stayed in his head, untouched. Whenever guilt knocked, Ethan silenced it with distractions. A few videos, a quick scroll, a short break that quietly became an hour, then 2, then the whole evening. At night, when everything was quiet, that's when the thoughts came. What am I doing with my life? I'll change tomorrow. I still have time. Tomorrow always felt safe because it didn't demand anything today. His parents worried but didn't know how to reach him. They reminded him gently at first, then firmly, then silently. Teachers tried encouragement, then warnings. Friends moved forward while Ethan stayed exactly where he was. He watched them succeed the same way people watch trains leave a station, standing still, convinced another one would come. One afternoon, after failing an important exam, Ethan didn't go home. He wandered through the town without direction until he reached the old public garden near the river. It was quiet, almost forgotten, with cracked benches and tall trees that blocked the noise of the street.
An elderly man was sitting alone on a bench, feeding crumbs to birds. Ethan didn't know why, but something about the calm way the man moved made him stop. He sat on the far end of the bench, staring at the water. Minutes passed in silence. "You look tired," the old man said softly, without turning his head. Ethan gave a weak smile. "I guess I am." "Tired from work?" "No," Ethan replied. "Tired from not doing it." The man chuckled lightly, as if he'd heard that answer before. "What troubles you?" he asked. Ethan hesitated. Then the words came rushing out. His failures, his delays, his fear of starting, his constant promises to himself that never became real actions. He spoke like someone who had been holding his breath for years. When he finished, he felt lighter and embarrassed. The old man listened without interrupting. When Ethan finally stopped, the man nodded slowly. "Let me tell you a story," he said. Ethan sighed internally. Stories were usually advice in disguise, but he stayed quiet. "Many years ago, there lived a clockmaker in a wealthy city. He was known for creating the most accurate clocks anyone had ever seen. Kings ordered from him. Merchants waited months for his work. His clocks never lost a second. Ethan listened. The clockmaker had an apprentice, a young man, intelligent and talented. He learned quickly, understood mechanisms deeply, and impressed everyone who watched him work. Ethan felt a strange connection already. One day, the clockmaker told his apprentice, "You are ready to build your own clock. If you finish it within 1 year, I will introduce you to my clients, and your future will be secured." The apprentice was excited, confident, proud. The first day, he designed the clock perfectly. The second day, he gathered the finest materials. The third day, he thought, "I've made such good progress, I deserve a break." Ethan swallowed. The break became a habit. Days passed, weeks passed. Every time the apprentice thought about working, he told himself, "I still have time." The old man paused and looked directly at Ethan. When the year ended, the apprentice stood before his master with nothing but unfinished pieces and excuses. Ethan already knew how the story would end, but it still hurt. The master said, "You did not fail because you lacked skill. You failed because you believed time was endless."
The old man turned back to the river. "Time," he continued, "is not cruel. It is honest. It gives everyone the same amount each day. What we do with it decides everything." Silence returned. Ethan stared at the water, feeling something shift inside him. Not inspiration, not motivation, urgency. For the first time, tomorrow didn't feel safe. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He replayed every moment he had delayed, every opportunity he had ignored, every promise he had broken to himself. And for the first time, instead of saying, "I'll start tomorrow," he asked himself a different question. What happens if I don't? The next morning, his alarm rang. He didn't hit snooze. It felt strange, uncomfortable, almost wrong. But he got up. He studied for 30 minutes, not hours, not perfectly, just enough. Later that day, he finished one small task he had been avoiding for weeks. Nothing magical happened. No applause, no sudden success, but something inside him felt different. Heavy, but real. Days passed. Ethan kept starting things before he felt ready. He worked even when motivation was missing. He failed often. He stumbled. Some days he fell back into old habits. But this time he noticed. And noticing was the beginning of change. Months later, his results improved. Slowly, quietly. His confidence returned, not from dreaming, but from evidence. He began trusting himself again because he finally kept small promises. One evening, Ethan returned to the garden. The bench was empty. The river flowed as it always had. He sat there smiling to himself, realizing something important. The wise man didn't change his life. The story didn't either. The moment Ethan stopped postponing did. Time hadn't changed. Ethan had. And somewhere between starting before he was ready and acting before he felt comfortable, he learned the truth most people discover too late. Life doesn't reward intentions, it rewards action, and time waits for no one.